So when it comes to measuring the elastic for the armholes, I do the same sort of measurement that I do elsewhere, where I'll measure from the top of the side seam to the outside of the shoulder seam. Usually this has a deeper cut here. This style doesn't. But regardless of how deep that is, I just go end to end, fold over. Ooh, I'm clumsy today. I'm always clumsy. Who am I kidding? Cut that. Use that to cut another one. When it comes to sewing it in, I like to start at the shoulder seam just because you have a straightaway on there. Usually here there's going to be a big curve and it just can be a bit of a hassle to do that. I don't find that there's enough bulk with the crossover of the shoulder for it to really matter, especially from any kind of a distance. So I'd rather go for getting it in nice and smooth. So I get the first few stitches in, fold it over, find the halfway point, hold the halfway point to the seam, and stretch it off. Now as I get close to the curve here, I stretch it a little bit more, and that technically makes your other side a little bit longer, but you're going to overlap with the front. Then as you get to the side seam, match it up to the top part here, overlap by the centimeter or so. And so, and here's where I was saying about the benefit of the straightaway is it's really easy to overlap it nicely. There's one armhole. And as you make your outfits, you're going to decide kind of for yourself. This is the way I do it. If yours tend to have a much deeper hole here, you might find that you need to go a little bit longer, like say measure a centimeter past here to get it. Basically, everyone has their own style. And when you start doing it by feel, you've got a lot of room for customizing it how you want. So just know that this is a general guideline. This is how I do it. It's going to depend on your style and like what size of outfits you're making. If you're making for very tiny kids, it's going to be a different proportion than if you're making for adults. Just basically go, you want your armhole to be a little bit bigger than the elastic that's going into it. But beyond that, just play around with it until you're comfortable. Again, a few stitches, fold it in half, side seam. Stretch it a little more. Meet an overlap. So there we have the elastic put into our bodice. So when it comes to flipping the elastic on the armholes, when I put the elastic in, I like to start at the shoulder just for that straightaway. When it comes to flipping it, I tend to start at the armpit just because the overlap of where the zigzag is more hidden where it's under the arm there. So I go in, flip it. With all elastic application, I do the same thing where this hand is pulling the fabric out, this hand is pulling it this way, and you're just basically trying to keep it very tight around this edge of the elastic. You're aiming to stitch on the inner edge of the elastic, not too close to the edge here. I should mention, I stretch as I go. So basically, once I get it flipped like this, I stretch behind the machine, and I stretch in front of the machine, and so without adjusting my stretch. Anytime you have to reposition, stop sewing first. Trim your threads. There's an armhole. Now the other way you can do this, like I said in another video, or it might have been earlier this one, I don't know anymore, is you can do it so that the right side's facing down and you're flipping up instead of flipping it under. So I'll show you how to do that. Like I said, this isn't the way I prefer to do it, but you can go either way. So when you do this, it's the same concept where you have to pull the fabric tight around the fabric or around the elastic and make sure you don't have any extra bunching here. You're flying blind with this because you can't actually see what's happening there, so you have to go on how you're feeling it with your fingers. So once you pull it tight, stretch it, and go. And as you can see, I'm aiming so that the left side of the zigzag is hitting just on the outside edge of the elastic. There, the bodice is almost done.